Sami Jemfi drinks niche.
The domestic industrialization has been on since 1984 when we introduced ADIS. It's been on
Gentlemen,
since 2000 when we introduced GIPC. Free zones in 1995. It's been on.
I think that, first of all, I mean, when we ask the NDC for solutions, sometimes I'm over, and I wonder exactly what we are asking them to do. Because they've had a chance before, and they sank us even much more deeper. And also, let's also make the point, Sami, please, HIV is not a pandemic. Tuberculosis is not a pandemic. HIV never had a global economic impact on all of us. Tuberculosis has not had a global economic crisis on us as a people. So you don't even attempt to compare COVID-19 to HIV. Once you do that, then it means that you cannot even appreciate the situation we find ourselves for you to even profess solutions. I have said this, and I continue to say this consistently, that in the situation we find ourselves, this morning, the point I've sought to make is to broaden the conversation and draw everybody's attention to the reality of the matter domestically and globally. And for us to understand that the MPP has done everything well to ensure that we contain the situation, even in the challenges that we find ourselves. To the point that if we were to rely on the solutions that Sami is professing and all the things that he's saying, we probably will be in a much more deeper hole. Because in 2014, 2015, 2016, when they did not have a global pandemic, I gave you the figures in 2015. Can you tell me in 2015, when we're doing 17% and Ivory Coast were doing 0%, which a global economic crisis we had? There was none. But here we are, acknowledged global economic crisis by everybody, including Sami Jemfi himself. And yet, today, we are supporting private sector by ensuring that energy is available for them to work. Today, we are developing and expanding infrastructure across every corner in this country. Today, Alfred, you and I are sitting on TV3. You haven't been laid off as it was in 2015, 2016 by some media.
I haven't been laid off because I am working and meeting the expectations of my employer.
Because your overheads, overheads of media general is not way overboard. As in the case in 2015 when they had to use money to buy fuel every morning to power their operations. That is the difference that we create in the midst of this crisis. And I believe that the MPP is in a right seat to be able to shepherd this country out of these challenges way better than the NDC, because we have had crisis under their time. There's been crisis under our period, and you can see the figures.
Well, talk about the economic situation also fits into the next conversation about reshuffles, because that's actually been one of the major reasons why many are calling for the president to reshuffle his ministers or sack those who are not doing good. Let me thank Dr. Kofi Olins-Lindsay, an economist and lawyer, joining us earlier, and also Dr. Patrick Assuming, economist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. A number of your messages, then we dove into the next conversation. We'll precede that with hearing the president actually reimposing his confidence in the ministers, the team that he's working with, that he's delegated his authority, that we surrendered to him through an election to manage the economy. And a number of you sending us, it says, good morning, Alfred. Please, they should remove the e-levy. We don't have money to cater for ourselves before paying e-levy. Yona Justice from Eche Amam from Afram Plains, South Wales. This one here says that, good morning, Alfred, and your panelists. Indeed, miracles should bring in more detail to what government is doing. I cannot run away from the fact that there's been a global impact, which he has outlined quite clearly, and I think that the NDC should also acknowledge same. But we are in a situation where, as a people, all we care about is what can be done to improve our conditions of service. And that must be the preoccupation of any listening government. You say, this one here says that, please tell us what you're doing about the state of the economy. Another one here says that we should have a team that would steer us out of this economic situation. I want to find out what the NPP man will say about the calls to replace some ministers. It's coming from Billy Brown as well. Let me welcome Dr. Jonah. He is a senior fellow at the Institute for Democratic Governance, IDEC.
Thank you.
Dr. Akufo-Addo, good morning.
Thank you.
Welcome to Key Point. We'll take a listen to the president talk about the call for him to reshuffle the ministers when he was in the northern part of the country, granting an interview on a radio station. Take a listen to the president, and I'll take my guest's initial thoughts on this before we drill down into the specific issues.
People are making a lot of noise about this matter.
Okay.
But several of the people who are responsible for assisting me to steer the country out of the difficulties that we inherited and out of the difficulties that have subsequently come are still in place.
Okay.
And many of them, for me, have done an outstanding work. Their output has been considerable. And that's what I look at.
Okay.
There's an issue about reshuffle or the performance of ministers. It isn't as if it is something that every now and then my mind comes to.
Okay.
It's a daily preoccupation for me.
Yeah.
I'm required on a daily basis to ask myself whether the output of particular ministers is up to the mark. But I am on the final authority, and if they're not up to the mark, I'm required to act.
Yeah.
But if the output measures the expectations, then I don't have any strong reasons to heed the calls.
Okay.
The calls come from all kinds of reasons. NDC wanting to destabilize your government is one. There are people who are also looking for jobs. But I also think it is important for us to have a really holistic look at this matter and be certain of what we're doing.
So that is the president talking about his confidence in the team in the midst of the calls for a reshuffle, and why he thinks that, well, look, he has full confidence in this. He says that they have performed very well. He used the words outstanding. And if there's going to be a reshuffle, he's the best person to decide on when that has to be done. Dr. Kwesi-Jonah, first of all, how much of a difference right now would the reshuffle or the call for a reshuffle make in the state of affairs that we find ourselves in as a country?
Thank you so very much. There are very many good reasons why heads of government, not heads of state, heads of government do reshuffle their ministerial teams. Some of the reasons are completely beyond them, like some ministers die, some are sick, they cannot perform their functions, and so on and so forth. There are, however, other reasons too that are within the control of the president, like some ministers are underperforming. Okay, now, so if you realize that some ministers are sleeping on their jobs, they are not performing, then reshuffling, rearranging, changing ministers will go a very long way towards helping the problem. Now, the president, I'm a bit surprised, appears to think that the call for reshuffle is coming from opponents, people who are looking for jobs, and so on and so forth.
He specifically stated that, for instance, the NDC may be doing that to destabilize the government.
I believe that if things were really going on very well, it is because the cost of living is so very high, there's crisis of day-to-day living in the lives of the people, and that is why people are, it's not like they want to destabilize the government or they're looking for jobs and so on and so forth. What is interesting is that there is a research department in the office of the president, and the basic function of the research department is to monitor and evaluate ministerial appointees. Are they doing very well? And so in his response to the calls for a reshuffle, I thought he will give a little bit of data that all the indications from my research department indicate that they are doing very, very well.
Based on some monitoring evaluation or performance evaluation?
Exactly. There's a director and there's a deputy director of research within the presidency. And that is exactly what they are supposed to do. There was absolutely no reference to the results of the monitoring and the evaluation of ministerial appointees. Yet he says they are doing very, very well.
He says he assesses them on a daily basis.
No, but that's not how the research department works. The research department works over a period, not on a daily basis, and then submit a report to the president over a period. It's almost impossible to do this kind of assessment on a daily basis. It's very, very difficult. And that is, in fact, why a research department has been set up to do it. If the president was in a position to do that on a daily basis, you wouldn't need a director of research and a deputy director of research and so on and so forth. So the point I'm making then is that there are very many good reasons why heads of government do reshuffle. And especially in times like this, when the cost of living for the average Ghanaian is so very high, it is reasonable for Ghanaians to expect that changing the team, rearranging the team, making some changes will bring about some improvement. And that is why the calls for a reshuffle are now so very loud. And I think it would be good for the president to appreciate the circumstances in which, the conditions in which people are making these calls. Now, so the simple answer to my question is that there are many good reasons why presidents do reshuffle. But if you feel that particular ministers, especially key ministers, are underperforming, definitely a reshuffle will bring some improvement, could bring some improvement.
But, well, what place does the reshuffle have as against, for instance, the point you make about those who are sleeping on the job, quote unquote? Moving them to another ministry is not going to solve any problem.
That is your understanding of reshuffle. But a reshuffle means some people can go out.
Okay. That's in sack.
Yes.
Sack,
some
replace,
can lose their jobs,
move around.
and then new ones can come in. Others may be moved around.
I see. What signals do such actions or an action of a reshuffle send to the posture of government in acknowledging and responding to the concerns of the people if an action like this is taken? What signal does it send?
Now, if a head of government, I say head of government because in some places there are presidents as well, heads of state as well. If a head of government does a reshuffle because of underperformance, definitely there'll be losers and winners. There are some who will go out completely. There are others who will be moved from a ministerial position they consider to be juicy to a less juicy ministerial position, and they will consider it to be a loss, and so on and so forth. But if the purpose of the reshuffle is to strengthen the effectiveness of government, perfect. It is good for the president, it is good for the people.
Sami, and bring you here at this point, because the point that Dr. Kwesi Jonah makes about the decision being based on research, so that there is a performance evaluation unit at the presidency or a research department. Doc, that's what you
yes,
a research department that assesses the performance of...
It monitors, evaluates.
And monitors the performance of the ministers. And the president says, look, based on the reports that maybe he has received from this research department, I'm not convinced that there has to be a reshuffle. So why the call?
My brother, does it appear to you that the president we have in Ghana today cares about research, monitoring, and evaluation? Does it appear to you?
Why do you think he doesn't?
This is a president who, you see, the Bible says, by their fruits ye shall know them. This is a president who doesn't care about the suffering of the people. A president who has lost touch with the realities in our country. A president who has become puffed up by the high office he occupies today. That any answer or response from his lips to the demands of the Ghanaian people is either a cheeky or cocky, arrogant answer. Those who are calling for the president to reshuffle his government, are they all NDC people? Alfred, haven't you heard MPP foot soldiers and MPP leading members, like their former General Secretary, Kwamina Ejapon, foot soldiers like my good brother, Sir Obama, and so on, calling for a reshuffle. Are they all calling for changes in the government's architecture of this country or the composition of the executive because they want to destabilize the country or because they are jobless, as the president says? That comment from the president is an insult to the intelligence and sensibilities of Ghanaians. And if he has a modicum of respect for Ghanaians, he will come back and retract and apologize for that comment. Presidents are not supposed to talk like that.
Apologize for what
If you
exactly?
don't intend to do a reshuffle, say you won't do it. But to say that those talking want to either destabilize your government or are jobless, what kind of talk is that? What kind of talk is that? We are talking, people are making genuine calls for a reshuffle because we have elected for ourselves a government. That government has appointed public officers who are paid with our taxes. And the actions and inactions of some of these officials are impacting negatively on our living conditions. And so whether you belong to the NDC, MPP, CPP, academia, the public service, or whatever, you have every right to call for changes. And it is improper, unacceptable for the first gentleman of the land, okay, to describe such people as people who belong to the opposition, who want to destabilize his government, or who are jobless. A president is not supposed to talk like that. But you see, we've been discussing the economy here. And so I want us to measure or analyze the statement the president made, even within the context of the conversation we'll be having here this morning. Like my brother Miracles, President Akufo-Addo says, his appointees have done an outstanding job. Then he says they are doing extremely well. You see, so the question is, what has been their output? What has been the net effect, the net impact of this outstanding performance on the living conditions of Ghanaians? Because the economy is what you feel in your pocket, and governance is about making life better for the people. The output is an unprecedented budget deficit, an unprecedented debt to GDP ratio. The output is that today you need almost 10 Ghana cedis to get a dollar. And today our national currency, the Ghana cedi, is the second worst performing currency in the whole world, second only to Sri Lanka, according to Bloomberg. That is according to the countries tracked by Bloomberg. Yes. Today, Ghana is the second country with the highest risk of debt default. Today, Ghana has been downgraded as a junk economy, CC+. That is the output of these ministers. That is the output of the head of the economic management team, Alhaji Bawumia, and the finance minister, cousin to President Akufo-Addo, Ken Ofori-Atta. That is their output. And how can the president look us in the face when inflation is galloping at about 31.7% and prices are going up astronomically without any commensurate increase in the prices of incomes? People are suffering. When ministers of state entrusted with the public purse, like Ajimamenu, the Minister for Health, who decides to inflate the cost of vaccines intended to save lives from below $10 to as much as $19 without recourse to the Public Procurement Act. And the president looks us in the face and says, oh, all these ministers who are violating the laws of this country, wasting the public purse, abusing the public purse, mismanaging the economy, are doing well. I spoke about some of their insensitive policies that have imposed untold hardships on us. One of that has to do with the COVID levy. And Dennis rebutted by saying that, HIV is not a pandemic. Who told you HIV is not a pandemic?
It's not a pandemic.
Don't say that anywhere.
It's not a pandemic.
You see, even when you are educating them, they won't learn. So let me read this to you. I hold in my hands, listen to me, an article published in the NCBI, that is the National Continental, the NCBI of the United States of America. I'll get you the full name. And it is authored by Robert Walter Essinger and Anthony S. Fauci. And when I mention Dr. Fauci, everybody knows who he is. The title of the article is Ending the HIV/AIDS Pandemic.
This is the National Center for Biotechnology Information.
National Center for Biotechnology Information. This is an article written by Dr. Fauci. an authority on pandemics. This is what it says. The goal of ending the HIV/AIDS pandemic is theoretically achievable and will require addressing this global health catastrophe on individual and global levels by providing optimal. There's a whole article. What is a pandemic? Any disease that is prevalent in the whole country or the whole of a country or in the world. That is a pandemic. Haven't we had the flu pandemic?
Well, the definition, so a pandemic is a disease outbreak that spreads across countries or continents.
Continents.
It affects more
How
more
can
people.
anybody who appreciates this definition say that it's not what?
It affects more people and takes more lives than an epidemic.
Yes, and do you know the number of lives that HIV has claimed? Master, Anthony Fauci is saying that HIV is a pandemic.
Malaria.
Okay, gentlemen,
can I make my point? Master, anybody watching me should just Google HIV pandemic. You see countless of articles there. In any case, let's say HIV is not a pandemic.
It is not. No, it's not. Let's say it's not.
Can you allow me to make my point? Stop being distracted.
Let's gentlemen.
When you are talking, I don't giggle, I don't heckle. Stop that.
I apologize. Go on.
Then again, let's even, for purposes of argument, say HIV is not a pandemic.
It is not.
What about the flu pandemic? What about the cholera pandemics we have had? We have had about 6 pandemics, cholera pandemics.
Okay.
Have we had cholera levies? Okay. That is the point I'm making.
So
in any
come
case,
back to
the issue about the COVID levy, the issue about the COVID
fundamental
levy,
issue that we are talking about.
It's not even about. I'm showing you how insensitive the handlers of the economy are, for which reason they must be changed. Because these are not people who are thinking about the boss and finding innovative ways of optimizing revenue mobilization. They are just so lazy and they are just imposing taxes that do not make sense, my brother, in the whole world. COVID is a pandemic. What that means is that it has affected the nations of the world. Show me one country that has imposed a COVID levy on its people. One country.
Okay.
One country. So that argument is neither here nor there. Again, my brother.
How do you round up? Yes.
Oh. They say that in justifying the failings of these clueless and incompetent appointees, they said that, in 2015, 2016, there was no global crisis. Please, that too is a fundamental error that we should not be making on platforms like this. Because anybody watching us, you can Google 2015 global economic crisis. You will see that in 2015, 2016, there was especially 2015, a major global economic crisis, which had to do with plummeting oil prices on the international markets. When the international market price of crude oil came down from a projected $90 and over per barrel to as low as below $50 per
that
barrel.
Global situation actually started from October 2014.
Yes,
down
exactly.
So I just
he doesn't know this.
Classify
the price of gold on the international market came down to below $1,000 per ounce. Yet in the midst of that, my brother, let me just conclude. Yet in the midst of that, we bequeathed to them an economy that was projected to grow by 8% in 2017. We bequeathed to them 3 oil fields. We solved them. So today you see here and say, even in the midst of our challenges, we are supplying energy. What do you know about the energy being supplied in Ghana today? You know nothing about it. Because you've not added 1 megawatt to generation. You don't know anything about fuel or distribution. You've done absolutely nothing about that. And so, my brother, as for me, I don't care whether the president will heed this reasonable call by credible voices like Dr. Jonas and other credible voices in this country. The bottom line is that at the end of his mandate, the people who gave him that mandate will hold him to account.
Thank you.
All these appointees who are not performing, who are wasting the public purse, who have been engaged in many shady and corrupt dealings.
Mr. Miracles, so
he will be held responsible for that. He will take the ultimate.
So how do you balance the call by not just the NDC? And in fact, I think it's been reported, I know you've read this, some members of your own party have made that call for a reshuffle as against what the president says. And that's what Dr. Kwesi Jonah was making reference to. Maybe there's a research department. Maybe there's something that the president is privy to that we are not. So a bit more detail, Dr. Jonah, that's what you're talking about. A bit more detail as to why the president holds that position that, look, the call for a reshuffle is misplaced because as per my own assessment, my appointees are doing well. It would help all of us to understand the president's position. Mr. Miracles?
I am glad that finally Sabi tried to introduce the flu and everything, you know. It's better you compare apples with apples than try to bring HIV in comparison with the COVID-19 and all of that. But let me move on. So when you listen to the president and listen to the statement he made, I think that he's been completely taken out of context and probably stretched his statement unnecessarily. This is a president who never said it in his interview that he was not going to reshuffle. He never said it anywhere. Neither did he say that he was going to reshuffle tomorrow, as per our demands. Okay. Neither did he call everybody asking for the reshuffle NDC, or call everybody asking for the reshuffle people looking for jobs. We should be fair to him. And I listened to him. And we've all listened to him. He started by saying that on a daily basis, he's had the cause to appraise the performance of his ministers. But and he even went on, yes. Please, and he even went on to indicate that there is nowhere in the world that any president or prime minister who intends to reshuffle comes to announce that he's coming to reshuffle. That alone, that grammar alone in all of its sense tells you that he said that, well, I have the intention. And that even if I have the intention, I'm not coming to say it to you on your radio station today. After all, hasn't the president in the past weeks done some reshuffle in government? Haven't you seen it? Haven't you seen the president do some reshuffle in government?
You mean the sacking of Addo Asafo?
Not necessarily that. He's brought in another person into the office. He's done some reshuffling in the security apparatus as well. You have seen that as well.
The national security.
Great. So the reshuffle has started. It's being done, maybe not at your pace, maybe not at the pace that you expected. But let's go to the statement the president made. The president said there are several reasons why people ask for reshuffle. And one of them is people like the NDC who will try to destabilize your government. It is a fact. It is an established fact. And all academic works across the world, you can pick it that whenever you introduce reshuffle, it takes a while. It takes a period. It takes some time for you to get back to stability. Now, ask yourself, Sami Jemfi sitting here, and former President John Mahama standing on TV and saying, President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo should reshuffle. You think that he's saying it because he loves Nana? The same person that destabilized this government by delaying the passing of laws in parliament and revenue generation laws in parliament. You think that he loves this government and that is why he's calling for a reshuffle? So if I am the president, I will be worried when John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, is calling for a reshuffle. And I have every reason to suspect that he wants to destabilize my government. You know why? Because this is a president that stands in front of his people and tell them that there is a law, there is a request in parliament by the executive, and that I have told my members of parliament not to approve. This is a man that says this. So who knows? The delays that they put us through, the delays and the stress. Please let me flow, I beg you, and then you can ask me the questions afterwards. The delays and the stress that they put this government through in the approval of our ministers, we haven't forgotten. That for the first time in this country, ministers, there was a cause to vote on ministers, queue, and vote on ministers on the floor of parliament. Yes or no, and count people, the stress, the struggle, the pressure that they put on this government. If this person comes to stand on TV and tells me that I should reshuffle, and he's expecting that in my reshuffling, I am bringing new people into the government, I have every reason to suspect that he has a cause to destabilize my government by, first of all, frustrating even the approval of these ministers in parliament based on his acts and actions over the period. I have every reason. Number two, is it not true that sitting here as Miracles, I'm a member of government, and that if there is a reshuffle and a certain minister is removed and I am called, I may be a beneficiary? So is it not true? Is it not the case?
So when you are calling,
don't we have people in government genuinely who are also sitting on the sidelines,
lobbying to get in there?
What is the lie when the president says that truthfully there are people who are also asking for reshuffle because they are looking for jobs? It is fact. It is fact. So if the president says there are several reasons where people ask for reshuffle, and he gives these two examples, where is the lie? Hasn't NDC people asked for the reshuffle?
So
hasn't people who are looking for jobs asked for the reshuffle? In the same vein, haven't MPP people asked for reshuffle? Haven't we seen scholars like Doctor also ask for reshuffle?
Indeed.
But the president couldn't have mentioned all the reasons. And then he went on afterwards. He went on afterwards to say that even if, or let me even say exactly what he said. He said there is no president, prime minister, or leader in the world that comes to announce that I am going to reshuffle. So I don't see why we have created a whole lot of brouhaha around this simple statement that the president made that did not in any way suggest that he was not going to undertake a reshuffle. I don't see why. Because even the same day he made that comment, I think either the day or the day after, that was the day he undertook a reshuffle at the National Security and the BNI. That day. That was the day he did a reshuffle at the National Security and BNI. All of these things that we are saying, people are not only asking for reshuffle, they are asking for reshuffle with specific demands. Answer me to tell you, he will start mentioning names. And we will be here. Eventually, when there is a reshuffle, you see the same people come and say, why did you take this person out? Why did you leave this person? Why did you take this person out? The president is the one with the mandate to steer the affairs of this country. All of us working with him are only supporting him to deliver. It is up to him to decide at every point in time who it is that he wants to bring in. He has not discounted reshuffle. He has not thrown it away. He has not run insult on anybody. He has only described two categories of people that he knows may have ulterior motives, which is fact. We cannot dispute. Now, Sami asked us that all these people that the president have, what has been the output? The output is that today, he is seated here and is not having to go home to meet Dumso, which will prevent him from watching EPL. Today, you know we have the poor Ghanaian child, almost about 135,000 Ghanaian children who hitherto were on the street and unable to go to school, not staying at home as a result of money. They are in school. The barrier of money has been removed and they are in the secondary schools. Today, we don't have children in the secondary schools sleeping in threes and in fours and on the floors because the government of Ghana and this same government have provided infrastructural intervention. Today, we do not have nurses and teachers who have completed training college standing in front of the Ministry of Finance with placards picketing that they should employ. That is the output.
Okay, so Miracles, wait, Miracles. On that note, just this week, I had some nurses who had completed training and are yet to be posted. Without respect. You see, this is something that I cannot.
No, when we make the point,
so if you say that there are no nurses,
I'm telling you, there are no
asking for
because when you complete the college, there is a process you go through before you are recruited. It is not the same as 3, 4, 5 batches being at home. It is not the same. When we came to office, we have 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016 batches at home waiting for employment. It is only during the times of the NDC that you could see these batches standing in front of the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Health, picketing and asking to be employed.
You know that
so what are you talking about?
There's actually been some nurses who went to the health ministry.
Which batch? That is the point. Which batch?
And indeed, some of them who were even posted to serve under this NAPCO program, the 2019 badge as well. They were out there. They were out there. I just wanted to put that on record.
We do not have that. We do not have that 2015, 2014, 2016
I'm only telling you that if you say that there are no nurses out there picketing for jobs, the 2019 badge has done that.
Last month.
And this is on record.
Hold on. You see, you are comparing two different things. Last month.
Which is?
Last month, the police, they passed out recruits. As we speak, they have not been posted. They would be posted. That is a batch. That is a batch that has been trained and have to go through a certain period. I am telling you about a situation where we had in this country nurses, teachers graduate from school, and there is a deliberate government decision that they cannot be employed. So for which reason they were picketing, asking that they get their financial clearances to be employed. So what are you talking about?
That we've seen over the No.
Oh, no, let me conclude on my point.
Please.
No, let me conclude.
I watched the time. Dr. Jonah, it's time of the essence in this decision for a reshuffle. For instance, if a government has to take a decision to reshuffle, is a timing also a consideration in the scheme of things?
Timing is very, very important. Let me, because of the conversations that have gone on, make this point that too frequent reshuffles can undermine the efficiency of government. If you do reshuffles regularly, because ministers adopt a short-termist approach. I'm a minister. I don't know whether I'm going to be in this ministry for the next 2 years or so. Right. So I adopt a very short, something that I can do immediately. A short-termist approach to policy. But timing is important in a time of crisis when people feel that things are not going very well in their lives. If you do the reshuffle, it can bring a ray of hope to people that, oh, there is an attempt to do something about our plight. So that is why I believe the calls for reshuffle have become so very intense these days. You know, so timing is very, very important.
All right. No, but beyond, I just want to stay with Dr. Jonah just a bit. But beyond that, how does a president balance the calls by the people for a reshuffle with what he is privy to that the people don't know?
Well, I have already explained to you that in our present situation, there is a research department at the presidency. And so should it happen that every minister is retained, you know, you are telling me that everybody is scoring A. Every minister is scoring A. And that's kind of hard to believe if I'm a teacher. So if everybody in the class is scoring excellent, 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 there may be, there's a natural curve, you know. So he's privy to some information that we do not have. But he definitely, the research available to him must enable him to do the balancing act.
But that position of this being scored outstanding, you as a research person,
everybody's scoring A is.
It is everybody though.
No. I'm saying no. Yes. I'm saying that if everybody is scoring A, then there's a problem.
He didn't say okay.
There's a problem.
It is a lie that under the previous government there was a deliberate policy not to employ nurses and teachers. The net hiring freeze policy was introduced in 2008 by the then finance minister, Banredu. I have the letters. It was the ex-Wal NDC Mills government that exempted the education and health sector, nurses and teachers, from that policy. If you check the EMIS data is Education Management and Information System, operated by the Ministry of Education. Between 2009 and 2016, we employed over 70,000 teachers. EMIS data. If you are watching me, you can write it down and check. You will know who is being truthful on this matter on this platform. If you check a document titled The Facts and Figures Publication by the Ghana Health Service, okay, which was published in 2017, the 2017 edition, page 24, the Ghana Health Service data shows that between 2009 and 2016, the total number of nurses increased from 24,974 to 52,605, representing a nominal increase of 27,631 nurses we employed. So Dennis Abuaje Miracles lied when he said that under the ex-Wal NDC Mahama government, nurses and teachers were not employed. Number two, with all the employment interventions he spoke about, what is the end effect? Today, unemployment rate has worsened from 8.4% according to the Ghana Living Standards Survey 7th edition. Okay, you can check table 5.2, 8.4% in 2016-2017 unemployment rate to now 13.4% as at 2021 per the most recent census data. As for what he says about infrastructure, you see, you are a government that has not built one hospital. You've not initiated and completed one district hospital or regional hospital or whatever. You've not initiated and completed one secondary school. You should be the last person to be talking about giving employment to teachers, because the teachers and the nurses are not working under trees. They are working in facilities that were built by a visionary government. You borrowed and wasted that on corruption and consumption. Finally, the free SHS they keep boasting about. What is the end game? Shambolic implementation has led to a double track system and food crisis in our schools. That today, schools are doing appeal for food, not appeal for funds. Appeal for food.
Right.
In my adult life, I've never seen that crisis in our secondary schools.
Dr. Jonah,
that shows that these appointees have been clueless, they have been incompetent, and they must be changed. And if he doesn't want to change them, it is his own cup of tea.
Thank you.
Come 2024,
your final
the people of Ghana will give their verdicts.
Finally.
Okay. Now, so, as I have said, people think that reshuffle is something that can be done, regularly, and so it cannot be done. If you do that, you undermine the government. At the same time, when life is very hard for the people, and the people feel that there is something that can be done to change the people who are managing the affairs of the state, you need to respond. Of course, based on the data available to you. And that is the cause of so much frustration about the lack of reshuffle.
But per IDEC's own research and monitoring, what are the people saying? And if you had the ear of the president, what would you say to him?
What we get is the same information that the president is getting. Different people calling for reshuffle. So you go into your data. Are there some people who are not performing? And if you do that, the public will be very, very appreciative.
Mr. Miracles, finally,
so I think that this morning, fundamentally, we've tried to expatiate on our positions on the issues. It is very clear that we have fundamental challenges in our economy, but we are doing very well in terms of resilience to make sure that it doesn't escalate like we experienced in the past. We are trying everything possible to keep the fabric of the Ghanaian society together through several other government interventions. At least whilst we are unable to control the external factors, we do certain things to keep the pressure a bit low. With the issue of reshuffling, the president has never, and I want to put it on record, the president has never said anywhere that one, he's not going to undertake any reshuffle. Two, indeed, he has actually undertook reshuffle in the past few days.
Okay.
Two, he has never also said that all those who are asking for a reshuffle are NDC. Indeed, it is true that former President John Dramani Mahama has asked for a reshuffle and is NDC. Again, he has never said that all those who are asking for a reshuffle are looking for jobs. Indeed,
okay, thank you.
It is true that internally in our party, there are some of us who are asking for a reshuffle, and those people who are asking for it may be people who are looking for...
Are you one of them?
No. I'm speaking about the party.
Thank you.
I am already in government.
Dennis,
I already have an appointment.
Miracles Abaji is the director of local government.
We are done. We are done.
Confirmation that the 2019, 2020, 2021 batches of nursing trainees who graduated are still home.
Decentralization, rural development, or the presidency. Dr. Kofi is listening. Thank you. Dr. Patrick Assuming. Thank you. Sami Jemfi, National Communications Officer of the NDC. Dr. Kwesi Jonah, I thank you. Thank you so much. My name is Alfredo Conce. This is BK Point. Have a good weekend. Thank you so much.